going to talk about is we're going to do a live demo where we're going to talk about Enscape Assets, the different ways to place them inside of Revit, and how they interact with some Revit families. There's going to be a couple cool little tricks we're going to show you guys. And then from there, we'll dive into some free resources to find models. Like if we can't find them, or if we can't model in Revit, or if we can't find them in the Enscape Asset Library, we're going to look at some great resources to find some ones that we need. And then we're going to look at a program called Blender, where we can just get the models in, model check and make sure they're okay. And then we're going to talk about a couple things to help optimize them a little bit. And then again, creating our own custom assets. So, all right, let's jump right in. So first we're going to look at is, obviously we have a Revit model over here, Enscape on the one window here. So first off is what we're going to look at here is Revit Families. So here we have just a basic Revit family right here. So this one looks pretty good. It has a BIM information. So scheduling correctly, this is exactly what we want, but it doesn't really look that good. Even when we're in floor plan mode here, we can see right here. Yep, we can see right here. This looks pretty good in plan view. So there's not any jagged lines or anything like that versus an Enscape asset where it kind of looks, it doesn't look the greatest, and one thing to be aware of is Enscape assets do not have BIM information tied to it, and it comes in under the planting category versus a traditional Revit family where you can set it to whatever type you want, whatever category you want. And again, it has BIM information and it's scheduling correctly. So again, there's nothing that's exactly what we want to build off of. So, but the Enscape assets, they're optimized for real-time rendering. They get a lot more smooth surfaces, a lot softer surfaces, more organic shapes, and they're optimized for real-time rendering. But again, they just don't carry the BIM information. So a couple of things that we can do here is also notice that we have Revit Entourage. So we have the traditional RPC Entourage people in here. So with Enscape, the traditional Entourage, we're automatically going to replace a couple of them with pre-designated 3D models. So if you go up here to Enscape and you go to the General Settings tab and you go under Revit, this Replace ArcVision content is automatically going to be enabled. If you don't want Enscape to automatically replace the RPC Entourage, you can just simply uncheck that, and then the default ones will stay there. So we can have a look at this great link right here. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, we have a link in our knowledge base, a whole article based on Entourage and Revit RPC content, where we go through in detail about which ones are going to be replaced. So you can see here, this RPC is going to correspond to this one right here. And again, it's detailing again, the replace the ArcVision content. And real quick, if you do see some red lines or red stripes in your model, it just means it's no ArcVision subscription. So again, definitely check that link out. It's a really great one. And again, too, we can see how these look versus what I don't want to say the project. Yeah, so we can see how these are being displayed. We're also seeing, we'll show you in a second here. So here's how the Revit ones display inside of Enscape, just the default Entourage ones. All right, so that's the Revit ones. Now, let's look at the Enscape Asset Library. So if we go up here to our Enscape Asset Library, this is where we have over 2,500 different assets now to choose from. So we have them broken out by different categories. So different accessories, animals, construction, furniture, and we also have different tags set up here. One little helpful tech tip is when I'm scrolling through all of these right here, how it's scrolling so fast. By default, there's this offline Enscape Assets button. This is going to be unchecked. So what this is doing, this is pulling the Enscape assets from our cloud system. So by default, this is unchecked. So one thing to help speeding through all of these assets is check this offline assets button. But one thing to be wary of is when you do check that button, go to My Documents or somewhere on your computer and create a new folder called Enscape Assets. From there, once you click this button, it'll ask you to select a folder where you want your assets to be downloaded to. Select that new Enscape Assets folder you created. That is a very, very important tip to keep in the back of your head. Do not just select your C drive and have it go there, because it will be a warning saying it's going to remove everything that's in that folder. So do not do that. Create that new folder called Enscape Assets and tell it to go there. And then from there, that'll download about 6 gigs worth of this content. So then from there, you can take all of these and you can fly through them a lot faster. So let's start by placing a couple of them. So one big thing in 3.1, which we did, was we have these, what we call simplified assets. So if you go under the tags here and you go to the simplified assets, this is going to filter all these different simplified assets. So these are great for early stage designs. So we can see here, if I hover over it, I get the option to favorite these. So now what I can do, I can favorite materials. And now up here in my search bar or under my list, I'll get my option for favorite materials. So this is where, again, I can start building up that list of different ones that I like to use. So I can either click and start placing, or what I can do, since I hover over it and I get the 3 options right here down on the bottom right-hand corner, if I hit the 3 options, I get 3 different options. I can place the asset on an active work plane, or I can place asset on surface, or I can link the Revit family to this asset. We'll get into that one in a second, but let's check out these placing assets on a surface. So if I click this place asset on a surface, I can click the surface I want. Let's just say this one right here. And now I can move it anywhere along that surface. Let's just click place. So again, these are these simplified assets, which we introduced in 3.1 that came out late summer. So this is how these assets are going to be in there. So again, here's a simplified asset. This is really great, again, for early stage design. So real quick, if I go up to my visual settings tab and I change the style mode to white, again, this is really, really powerful for early stage designs. Oops. Let it think for a second. There we go. So when we go into white mode, that's just going to turn everything in the scene completely white. So now we don't have to worry about textures or anything like that. So now we can really just focus on the structure of the model. Again, really great for early stage designs. Let's even start placing a couple of cars just to show you guys here. We can take, let's take this truck. I'll place the asset on the surface. Place it. Let's load up quick. There we go. And what I can do, I can hit the space bar again to flip that, just like I normally do with anything else in Revit. And now that's how that looks. We have also a couple different buildings, a couple different trees, a couple different simplified people as well. So show you guys what that looks like. Place asset on the surface. Here we go. So again, these are our simplified assets. So again, really powerful to help with early stage designs. Again, I'll let that load up quick. There we go. And that's what this looks like. And again, we'll get into some of what this topology looks like inside of Blender in a second. So, all right, so that's our simplified assets. So let's put some color back to this model here. And I can just go back to none. So again, I'm going to do that. And what I can do here, we can switch back to level 1 so we can see, again, the difference between the two. So here's Revit's RPC entourage versus an Enscape asset. So we can see the difference between the two and how those look in plan view. So again, it's a really good representation of what they're going to look like. So the next option that we're going to show is how to link a Revit family to an asset. So let's go back up to my little bench up here. All right. So again, this bench looks pretty good. Again, it's got all the BIM information. It's scheduling correctly, but I want it to look a lot better. So what we can do, I'll uncheck that. Now I'll go up to furniture here. And let's scroll down. Let's find a bench. Let's utilize this bench right here. So again, if I hover over the asset that I want, and I hit the 3 dots, if I hit this link Revit family to asset, what this is going to do, this is going to ask me to go find the asset that I want. So if I scroll down to, oh, I probably missed it. Yep, here's my bench. I know this one is the 60 by 18 by 18. So I'm simply going to click OK. What this is going to do is this is going to keep my Revit model looking good and clean, scheduling correctly. We can go up to level 6 here. See again here in Revit, again, it's still looking good in plan view, still scheduling correctly and everything. But now my Enscape model is going to have the nice new high quality 3D asset. Textures are looking good. surfaces are looking good and everything. So this is a great way to keep your visualization model looking good and your BIM model all intact, looking good, scheduling correctly. One cool little tip that we've seen people utilize is they'll model little blocks of Revit families. They'll put all the information in there. They'll make it size accordingly for everything. Again, get all the information in there. And then they'll do this link Revit family to asset. So it's keeping their Revit model lightweight and their Enscape model looking really, really good. So that's a cool little tip which you can utilize there. Again, so now in the Enscape asset library, we can even do that for the different type of people as well. If we wanted to change what they look like, so we can take RPC Alex, for example, we can change what he looks like if we don't like the one that Enscape deals with. So we can change the way he looks. So if I go back up here to my asset library, and again, we go down through people, and I can say, let's take this gentleman on the phone here, link Revit family to asset. I can scroll down and select RPC Alex. Now Alex is going to be transformed into our new Enscape asset. So there we go. That's what our new person looks like in there. Again, definitely check out all these different assets that we have here. With each new release we have coming out, we're going to get a bunch of new assets. So we can even start by placing a couple cars real quick. So let's go to vehicles. Again, if you hover over any, you see this Evermotion logo right in the bottom right-hand corner. It's because these came from a website called Evermotion. It's one of the websites we'll look at in a second when we look for some resources to get. But the really great thing with our assets is they're optimized for real-time rendering. So again, we'll get more into this in a second. So I can take this and I can, again, hit place asset on surface and click in place. I can spin this one. There we go. There's our nice new sports car. So again, looking pretty good. A lot more detail than what we can get inside of Revit here. So that's where these become really, really powerful. And they're, again, optimized for real-time rendering. All right. So again, this is our asset library, 200 or over 200 or 2,500 different assets. Again, with each new release coming out, we're going to get a set of new assets here. So let's check out now. So if we don't have any inside of Revit, or we can't create one inside of Revit that we like, or if we don't see any inside of the Enscape library, how do we do this? How do we create something that we need? So there's this custom assets right here. So this is where we can create our own Enscape assets. So this is where we can take anything from an OBJ file, an FBX file, or a GLTF file, and we can import these in and we can make these Enscape assets. So let's look at a couple of different free resources that we have to look through and see where we can find some. So the first up is we have CG Trader. CG Trader is probably the one I go to the most to start from. This is really great for anything. They have a lot of free paid or free content, even a lot of free full rooms. So you have different types of beds, different types of furniture. But one thing to keep in mind is a lot of these are made for the game and the visual effects industry. So they're going to be really high in poly count. So we'll look at what poly count means in a second. The next up is TurboSquid. TurboSquid is a very, very well-known site to get some free and paid content again. So definitely if you're budgeting out for a project and you need some specific furniture or you need some specific assets that you can't make, definitely factor in paying for some good content. It's well worth it. It'll help push your renderings to the next level. Polygon is another very powerful one. Polygon also has a lot of free textures and a lot of paid textures. So if you guys are looking to get higher quality renderings, utilize some of their textures. Very, very powerful. Next up is 3D Sky. This is a very powerful one as well. I believe they have a couple really nice sculptures. Again, definitely check out each one of these. Very, very great content there. SketchUp Warehouse for our SketchUp users. This is also a really good one that we can utilize too. And one thing to note is all the steps I'm showing you in regards of placing assets and creating custom assets, this is going to work for Rhino, SketchUp, ArchiCAD, Vectorworks as well. PCON is another very great one that we're going to look at here. This has some manufacturer specific content that we can look and download. And then last up is Adobe Substance 3D assets. So for those that don't know what Adobe Substance is, it's a high-end texturing tool that made popular in the M&E space, and now it's becoming more prominent in the architecture visualization market. And they also have a lot of great free resources as well. So, all right, let's check out a couple of these. So again, here's the Adobe Substance site. So this is where they have a lot of great content that you can download. They don't have textures on it, but what you could do is you could go and find some of their textures here, and you could place those textures on here as well. The PCON website, which we talked about. Again, here's the CG Trader, and then the Polygon site. Again, Polygon has a lot of great free models. So again, we can see different types of bathroom assets, different types of plants, different types of rocks. And now what we're going to do, so different types of rugs as well. These are actually photo scans. So people went out with their phone or a laser scanner and actually scanned these different objects. So you're going to get a very high quality object out of this. So again, to help push your renderings to the next level, because you're actually using a photogrammetry model. So again, very, very powerful stuff. But the first one let's look at is PCON. So PCON is a great website for manufacturer specific content they have. So if we go to PCON, or if we go back to start, we can see, I'm going to work off the Walter Null ones, but we can see here they have different types of, let's go like media and technology. They have different types of categories where you can download assets or 3D models. So we're going to work off the Walter Null one. So let's go over here. Let's pick this chair, or let's pick this table here. So I can pick this table. Now what I'm going to do is, we can see it's going to give me the options for downloads. So we have 3ds Max, we have DWG 3D, we have an OBJ file. I'm going to pick an FBX file. So again, with our custom assets, you can pick an OBJ file, you can pick an FBX file, or you can pick a GLTF file. But if you have access to 3ds Max, you can definitely take that as well. But FBX and OBJ work fine. That's the one I use most often, is the FBX file. So what I'm going to do is just going to collect the FBX file. It's going to download. So now let's pop over to a program called Blender. So Blender is kind of like 3ds Max, but it's free. You can do some very, very powerful stuff with Blender. So again, this is a way where we can import our models. So I'm going to do a file import, and we're going to go to FBX file, and I'm going to go to my downloads. And I'm going to pick my one I just downloaded here, date modified. Yep. So this one right here, I'm going to hit import FBX, and we can see here's my model inside of here, my 3D model. So when we're talking about creating custom assets, one thing to keep in the back of our head is poly count. So what I mean by poly count is, let's filter by this. So we can see all these individual lines right here. These are all the different polygons that are making up this model here. Again, back inside of Enscape here, inside of our Revit family, we can see here's all these different polygons. So that's what Enscape's displaying inside the Revit side here. So back in Blender, and when we're creating custom assets, I'll show you guys in a second. When we create this custom asset, there's going to be a warning if the model is over 20,000 triangles. That is just for performance. It will still create it, so be a little wary and use it sparingly. So if you're doing a big scene and you're going to have a bunch of different high quality 3D models in there, you might want to back the poly count down just for performance reasons. Again, hardware depending too. So just use these high quality ones sparingly without having to go back and retopologize them. So that's one thing to kind of keep in the back of your head. So there's a couple of things that we can do to save on poly counts. So again, this will still work just fine. It's a little over 20,000. Again, Enscape's still going to let us create it, but so here's a couple of things that we can do to reduce the topology on this. So we can see here, I'm probably not going to, when I import this asset, I'm really not going to be seeing the footings too much. So I can take some topology away from that one. So if I go to this modifiers right here, I'm going to hit add modifier, and there's this decimate tool right here. Now what I can do is I can back this I can back this down and we can see here it's going to be reducing some of the topology. So now I'm well under the 20,000 just by simply reducing a couple of the different polygons from that asset. So again, this is going to work just fine. Again, I'm not really going to see that too much. So I don't feel too bad about taking some polygons away from that one. Another really good thing to check is, okay, let's go back to shaded, is if our normals are inverted or anything. So each 3D model has which way the face is displaying. So if I go up here and I see face orientation here, this is a big thing to check, because a lot of times if I import a model inside our custom asset, some things could be missing. Like the back of a model could be missing or a face could be missing. That's because the normals are inverted. So that just means a simple polygon is flipped. So if you see blue, so one thing just to get a visual representation is if I see any red in my model, that means that normal's flipped. So we're just going to have to go back and select the polygon and flip that normal. No harm done. So this one looks good. I don't see any issues with this at all. So I feel confident being able to export this now. So I can toggle face orientation off. And real quick, if I hit this button right here, what this is going to do, this is going to show me actually the textures that are applied to this model. So everything's looking good. I'm going to select my model. I'm going to hit file. I'm going to hit export. Again, I'm going to take an FBX file. You can definitely do a GLTF file or an OBJ file if you would like, but I'm going to take an FBX file. So now I'm going to go put it in my folder that I want. Let's look at my documents. Let's do, where's my folder? I had a folder set up. So it could be 3D models. Yep. There we go. We're going to call this, it's called table, and I'll hit export FBX file. So now that that's exported, let's go back to Revit and Enscape, and let's start by go up to my Enscape Assets, my asset library here. Here we go. All right. So now how we can create our own custom assets. So I'm going to hit the plus button right here. It's going to pop up over here on my other screen real quick. Yep, just letting it load quick. All right, here we go. So this is what the Enscape asset library or editor is going to look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit import geometry. I'm going to go back to here's my 3D model. Here's my table. So I'm going to hit open. And now what I can do is start by adding in the information. So what I can do, I can take that Walter Knoll descriptions. So I can download the textures as well. Images. Yep, download that. See, there's my image. I can even download the OBJ file and it'll bring the texture maps with it. But now I can take this information about the height or even the overview of it. So I can copy all this if I want, if I need to, and I can put that in the description of our model here. Call it what we need to. One thing you're going to notice is you're going to need to scale this asset. So here I can load in my texture, or I can even load in my own here. So let's just load it. Here's that one right there. There we go. Right there. Or I can load in my own if I want. So if I want to get custom with it, I can load in my own here. So let's go to textures. I want to make this a marble table. So marble, here we go. Let's utilize this marble right here. Perfect. There we go. I like that. So now what you can do is we can go look at each individual material that's applied. So this metal right here, I can turn this to be metal. So I can turn the roughness down. I can turn this to, so that's going to be shiny. I'm totally fine with that. This one is the metal railing. So now what I can do, I can adjust the metallic. So now that is completely metal reflection. So now that's looking pretty good. Again, I can adjust this accordingly. for the size. And I'm just navigating inside the window, just like I normally would inside of Enscape using WASD keys. One good thing to note is 8, 5, 4, 6, and 2 do work on your number pad. So if you hit 5 on your number pad, it's going to put it straight down. 2 is looking straight forward. 4 is left side. 6 is right side. And 2 is back, or 2 is right in front. So now this is going to become important when we create the thumbnail for it. So now what I can do is I can scale this. So let's do the Y is, let's say this is going to be 1.0 meters tall. So that is one thing to be wary of too, is when you scale it, it's going to shrink it down, because a lot of times these are modeled to in really big scale. So I can either double click, or again, if I can hit 5 on my keyboard or number pad, there we go. So I'm just going to adjust this real quick to get a nice shot on how I want it to look. All right. So now what you got to do to create your custom asset is you have to hit the take screenshot button to create a thumbnail. That thumbnail is simply the image that you're going to see over inside of here. So I can hit thumbnail. So what that's going to do, that's just going to do a quick rendering. All right. Now I have to save the project. So I have to hit save project. You will be prompted the first time you do this for a folder on where you want to put all your assets. So just create a new custom assets like I did. I just put it to my desktop, but you can put it anywhere else you would like. I'm going to hit save. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit generate asset. It says the asset was generated successfully. That's great. Now I can just simply close this. And now I can see I'm going to get a new badge right here for where my new asset is. So let's go up to level 6 here, and let's place this table here. I'm gonna hit place asset on surface again. Boom, there we go. I can place that. All right, and see how this came in as a block? So here, let's check out Radle. Let's fly over here so we can see what that's looking like. Oh, interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So how this came in as a block was because of I didn't set the placeholder geometry. So if I go back inside of here, that's very interesting. It came in like that. Didn't do that earlier, but all right. So this placeholder geometry right here is where it would show whatever is inside of the Revit window here. So I can make it even a more simplified version, just like we do with these assets, and set the placeholder geometry. So then from there, it's going to display as what we want instead of a block inside of Enscape. Well, I'll have to look into why that happened. That's interesting. Let's remove that. All right, let's try another one. So we have another website. Here, let me remove this. I'll create a new scene. New general, don't save. We'll just remove this. Now, if we want to create, say, like a TV, I went to CG Trader and I found a nice TV. So again, I just took the FBX file. I hit download on the FBX file. And now what I'll do is I'll import that. So I'll hit file, import FBX file. We'll go to my downloads here, and I'll take the smart TV. So right away, this one came in just fine, but notice it's not at 0, 0. So when we're placing Enscape assets, we have to make sure it's at 0, 0. So I can move this right over here. I can even set the coordinate system to 0, 0. Let me turn on the scene statistics here. And notice this one's over 25,000 triangles. So that's fine. We'll show you how that one works again. But so first things first, let's check out the face orientations here. Oop. All right, so this one's red. Same with the bottom here. So I can show you what this looks like inside of Enscape, so you guys can see if you guys run into this. So if I hit place asset on surface, I'll actually place this on top of this TV, or that right there. Yep. And then we'll flip that real quick. There we go. So So put a video texture on there, but that's how that's going to look if you get the weird inverted faces. So again, that's what I'm talking about. So if you create custom assets and you see that, there's a couple different ways where we can fix that. So one way, yeah, see it on the bottom here, but notice how the ones in Blender were red. So there's a couple different ways we could fix that. So if we go up to our asset library and we go back to edit this, we can make those materials double-sided. So then it's going to see the other side of that face. So if I go in here and I hit this double-sided, so there, now it's fixed. And I can hit, say, the project. And again, here's that 20,000 triangle limit. So again, that's just, again, telling us that, hey, this model could lead to performance issues, but again, feel free to use it. It'll still work, but just use it sparingly. And then we can hit, so then we can just save the project and it'll update for us. So, but now let's go in here and create. Now we can show you how to fix that inside of Blender here and how I put that video texture in there. So if I go up here and I select the upper metal, and then I'm going to go up to edit mode, I'm going to select faces. So I can pick all the faces here, and I'm going to go up to mesh. There's an option for normals right here, and I'm just going to hit flip. Oop, missed a couple. And then we can hit mesh, and again, we'll hit flip. Right here. Let's make sure we select all of them at once. There we go. Now we got all of them. Mesh, normals, flip. There we go. Missed a couple, but for demonstration purposes, we'll, yeah, that'd be fine. That'd be fine. So now what we can do is I can toggle that off and then face orientation, go back to object mode now, and then I'll hit export. Again, totally fine with this one being a little bit more higher poly count. So I'll hit file, we'll go export. And one thing to note too is this is where you could set the names of the textures. A lot of times if we import materials, the naming convention could be a little weird or not what we like. So we can just select the object and then the material tied to it, just rename it to what we want. So we can hit file, we can hit export. I'll go to FBX again, tell that to go there, and I'll say TV. Export FBX file. There we go. Now I can go back to my Enscape library here. We're going to create a new one. Again, create custom asset. Let the window pull up over here. All right. So again, I'm going to hit import geometry. I'm going to go to my 3D model here. Here's my TV. All right. So now, again, I can scale this accordingly. So this is going to be 1.18. Again, I can hit 5 on my keyboard. Here we go. This one is going to be my video texture. So now what I can do, I can go to documents. I'm going to import a video texture now because I want a video to be on my screen. So this is really handy. So now I can put videos on my TVs or even on a big board if I want. So I can hit open. Now what this is going to do, this is going to put that on there. Now I can go here. And I can go and further edit these if I need to, change things to be metal or whatnot. So I can go here and I can change this to change the roughness down, make that chrome. Same with this one, change that to be chrome. Now that's over there, and I can edit these as well. I can change the roughness. The roughness is determining how shiny the surface imperfections could be. Again, now I can say this is this looks like a Sony, let's say a 47-inch TV. Again, now what I can do, I can hit the thumbnail. It's going to generate that. Again, it's giving me the warning that it's over 20,000 triangles. I know that. I'm okay with that. I'm not going to have too many of these in my scene. My scene's not really that big, so I can afford that. So I'm going to hit generate asset. And again, if I didn't save the project, it's going to give me this warning. So I have to hit save project first. Save project. Now it says the asset was generated successfully. And I'm going to get a new spot for my TV. So here's my new TV. And again, it has the description. I put it in there. So let me remove this other one here. I can hit place asset on surface. There we go. Fill it up. We'll spin that, and then we'll move this into position here. There we go. Here's my new TV now. So again, that's how we can put videos to our models. That's how we can create the custom assets as well. Now, one other really cool thing is we can share any one of these custom assets now. So if we go up to our folder of custom assets, so if I go to my desktop and I go to custom assets, I can take all of these if I want. I can put them in a folder and I can send these to our team and they can go into their custom assets folder that they've created. They can load these into their model. And then from there, they'll be able to work off the same assets that you worked off of. So that's how we can start standardizing our company library on custom assets. All right. So we talked about how Revit families are looking inside of Enscape, some of the different ones that are available, how the ArcVision content's replacing them, and then how we can even do a couple of things for linking different assets to Revit families, different types of ways to place assets, and then even how to create custom assets.